Hello, folks. We are sponsored by Next Gen Power. If you don't know what Next Gen Power is about, they provide green energy solutions powered by the sun. So you can save money and reduce your carbon footprint in doing so. Now, with rising costs on fuel, we're all feeling the pinch at the moment. You can take control of your monthly costs in your home or business and save up to 70% on your energy bills while doing so. So check it out, their website at nextgenpower.uk, get a free quote, and hopefully we can save you some money. Hello and welcome to the He Doesn't Want a podcast. We're going to start here with our first champions of the season on the podcast, which is Dromara Village, and with Paul Rice here from Dromara Village, who have just won Amateur League Division 1A. Paul, how's things, mate? You all good?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad now. We had our awards due on Friday night, so I think I'm just sort of getting back to normal from that, actually.
Trying to recover, hi.
Trying to recover a little bit. So yeah, all good, all good.
So obviously, you've won the league, you've got game promotion back in the Premier Division. You've been out of Premier Division for a while, so considering you were in 1A for a number of years, the way you've won it this year was unbelievable. Like how quickly you got across the line and the amount of points you accumulated throughout the season.
Yeah, well, it's certainly been a while in coming. Probably 10 years, I think, we left the Premier. Sort of yo-yoed between sort of 1A, 1B type of thing. But within that time, it's been a case of just developing the young local talent. And it's really all sort of the last couple of years, it's kind of just all come together. And then really it was a case of, from management or whatever, just adding the right players in the right positions and that little bit of experience, just to kind of put it all together. Most of the young lads, most of the team is made up of locals who've come straight through the youth system. Yeah. And it was, it's just been fabulous to see those guys achieve that success after really coming into this. Some of them coming into the team at 16, 17.
Yeah.
Sort of struggling for a few years. And like I said, to see the success now, it was just made up for them,
It's almost a different feel because last time we were in the Premier Division, I know I had a lot of friends up at Dromara at the time, and they always think so highly of the club. But there was a lot of people from outside the village when you were competing at the top end of the Premier Division. Obviously, it's won the Border Cup, and then when those guys leave, then all of a sudden it's just down in the 1A, and then you have a complete rebuild in your hands. So they actually do that within 10 years or around that period is still quite impressive because it was a complete rebuild you just had to do when you left the Premier Division before.
Yeah, it was at the time. Phil built a great team. Obviously, been to the final of Border Cup one year and then won it the next. We're competing for the Premier a few times, but as you said, every team sort of goes through the cycles. So once the guys finished, it was a case of we just had to go with the young lads at the club. And I think there's a lot of people deserve a lot of credit around the club for just basically starting from scratch. Really, you know what I mean, and kind of gone through those few years of going up and down, and even credit going back to Jerry McMahon, brought in a couple of lads who wanted to stay at the club, and through to Kieran Brannigan as well. And then when Peter Charlie took it on, he just had wanted to play a certain way, and actually from himself still playing, led by example. And I say it just all came together, just a nice blend of being solid at the back and being free scoring, I feel like.
Yeah. Was there any point this season where you realised that this could be our year, or did you just have that confidence? Do you think your boys had that confidence when the squad from the start of the season that this was it? This is the time we're going back in the Premier Division.
It really started sort of halfway through last season. Peter took over and wanted to play a certain way, and just sort of encouraged the lads. As not only that, but to kind of look after themselves outside of training. We've always sort of said that Tuesdays and Thursdays should all be ball work, and the guys should really sort of try and do their own work outside of that, whether it be the gym or going for a run or the recovery on a Sunday. And they all bought into that. They were all putting posts in of being at the gym, making me quite sort of feel a bit underwhelmed at times. But they all bought into that. And last year we weren't really anywhere near close to promotion, but we got to within a couple of games. Lost away to Malachans, I think, sort of scuppered the second last game of the season. But when we got to the end of the season, we really thought, we could really go for this year. And then the promotion was the priority. It definitely was, and anything above that, would have been a bonus. And it's just as the season sort of grew, our confidence grew. Regardless of at times we would be maybe 1 down or maybe 2-1 down, 60-70 gone, but we would still keep pushing and pushing, and we got the rewards for it.
So now you've gained your status back in the Premier Division. I take it the aim next year is to consolidate your position, stay up, and then just push from there, and then hopefully put yourselves up in the next couple of years in the upper echelons of the Premier Division.
That's really it. There's a lot of confidence within the squad. I mean, they're talking about it already.
Yeah.
And they're just so looking forward to it. A lot of them they've set up their own training programs over the summer, which we've encouraged, and they're just ready for it. It will be a case of consolidation. I mean, if you look at the teams that have gone up last year, sort of Cumber and Rosario, they've held their own well.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why that can't be the case. I think this season we did kind of, I wouldn't say neglect any of the cups, but it certainly wasn't the priority. Anybody with any little niggles, we sort of left out and stuff. So next year, hopefully, we can integrate some of the other younger lads now coming through, some of the 17 and 18-year-olds who've joined us at training this year, been playing for the thirds and playing for the seconds. And hopefully we can integrate that and just increase the squad and give the cups a good go this year as well.
Do you think it gives, obviously it's different, every team's different, but you've been around both cycles. Do you think it gives a wee bit more of a buzz around the club, the fact that it's mostly homegrown talent, or does that come into it in any way? Or
I think it does, because I think a lot of the lads' families and girlfriends they'd be about on a Saturday, and they all help out as well too. And it just gives the club that sort of community and family feel about it as well, And so even when you have players when we don't have too many, we've only 3 there that have come in from a little bit further afield. They just buy into the club. They absolutely just love the atmosphere about it, and the sort of camaraderie, not only between the players, but between from everybody involved at the club, from the committee, the fans, supporters, and they'll end up bringing their wives and girlfriends and mums and dads down, and they all love it as well. So it's I think everybody just kind of enjoys that, and it's great to have that atmosphere at the club, because it is a selling point as well.
Yeah, no, from my experience personally, we were down just after COVID playing yous, and we did really, really well from everybody, including yourself, when the club so you can really get that feeling within Dromara, and it was really great to see us get your promotion that you've been striving so long for the last couple of years, and I wish us best of luck going forward, man. I really do. I hope you keep your position in Premier Division and just push on as a club.
Yeah, well, that's it. As we said to the players, it's a case of when times are good, you just go with it as best you can. You put all your heart and soul into it, because yourself. There's a lot of years maybe where that doesn't happen, and the guys know that now themselves. They're on a wee bit of a crest of a wave, so you just go with it, and you commit as much as you possibly can, because who knows what's achievable, and that's the way we're kind of looking to approach it. That's the way that most of the players and, let's say, fans, committee members, everybody involved in the club are looking at it.
Especially with a strong youth system, then you have a bit more sustainability that way as well, with boys coming through.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, this year we did have some of the 16, 17-year-olds join in with the first team squad. Had been playing for the seconds, playing for the thirds. Made it a bit difficult at times, because you had maybe 35 at training. It's a bit of a nightmare trying to organise it. I know myself and Strand, we'd be pulling our hair out at times, but we sort of nailed that down. And Shane McCarl, manages the seconds, would come along and do a lot of coaching. So we would try and keep everybody as put this together as much as possible. But at times that's not it's not possible to kind of do it all the time. So we do have splits and things. But it's one thing that's mentioned about a lot of people talk about this one club kind of mentality, where we don't try and separate first, seconds, and thirds. Even, you know what I mean? Everybody supports everyone else, and if a player needs to come up and help us, the first team, or a player maybe needs to drop down, maybe not in the match day squad, they're all happy to kind of do it, and that's it just bodes well for the atmosphere. Yeah,
100%, and it pushes every player on within the club and within the 3 teams, obviously. So it does, if they all pull in the same direction.
Yeah, it just gives everybody the opportunity. There's not. I don't think there's anything. We've been reaping players, and there's nothing as bad as you think you're not getting a chance. You know what I mean? You get a bit disillusioned, and it's not possible all the time to kind of play everybody. But I think most guys will understand, if they're given a chance, it's up to them to kind of take it, but that chance will always be given. And as I said, it's just up to the players and the lads to kind of show that they're up to it. And I think this year we'll be looking to integrate the lads will be a year older, and there's a couple of good prospects. So if we can add them to the squad, all the better.
Yeah, well, I don't think I speak to many people who are probably looking forward to the next season so close to one season. But I'm sure you guys are already counting down the days, is there?
Well, at the same time, we're glad of a break. I can tell you that, because it's literally something to deal with. Like Peter, if you ever talk to Peter, he has to deal with something literally every day, and there's something the managers chat to arrange or do and things. So it's we try and spread everything around as much as possible, just to see that people have family life and businesses and shift work and stuff like that there. So, but as much as we're looking forward to it, no, we definitely need a break.
Take the break when it's served.
That's it.
Paul, thanks very much for chatting with me, mate. I really appreciate it. And like I said earlier, I really do wish his best of luck. I think it's a great club, Dromara Village, and I wish his best of luck going forward.
That's fantastic, guys. Thanks very much.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, now.
I'm joined with Lee Cathcart from Rosemount. Lee, how are you, mate? You all good?
All good, Gary. Yourself?
I'm doing well, mate. I seen you finally wrapped your season up there on Tuesday evening, so it feels like we're getting longer into May every year, but finally the season's completed and a successful one for yourselves.
Was brilliant, probably a bit more than what we expected. The more the season went on, we started to feel more that we were going to go for it. But coming in this season was sort of, if we go in, get our feet underneath the table more or less in 1A, see if we get top 4. But as it went on, the expectations got higher, and thankfully we got there in the end.
Yeah, normally with the amount of points you gather as well, that would be enough to win 1A, because it's such a competitive division, and it's always been tough for teams to get out of over the years. But Dromara really did set the bar early this year, but just pushed them all the way also.
We did, and probably for a wee while we even thought we might have a chance of slipping in there, but Dromara were brilliant. First game we played them, I think they beat us 5-0. Ripped us apart that their day. Second game was a bit closer. They scored a 94th minute winner down to our place, which ended our 5-year home record as well. So that one stuck with throat a wee bit. But no, they were a different class all season. The table doesn't last. The amount of points, goals, goals conceded, everything was brilliant from them. Fair play to them.
Yeah, and then obviously the COVID season, you were the only team that got promoted 1C, because he's already wrapped it up, and then it's just been success after success the last couple of years, and the club's had a meteoric rise through the amateur league. That obviously it's great to have that success, but now it's a big step up in the Premier Division. How do you think is there going to fare next season, or how will you prepare for it?
I mean, I think what we've got there at the minute, we go in and cope no problem with it. Obviously, the same as every season, I think you have to build every year. We'll definitely be looking to bring boys in, just to strengthen the squad. We're looking to keep everybody we have, most importantly, first of all, and then build on that there. We'll be adding boys in positions where we feel that, we'll not just be adding boys for the sake of it. It'll be, boys who we're handpicking, sort of trying to go out and get them in to do the right job for us, to strengthen the right areas.
Yeah, and then next season, the aim would be just to consolidate your position, or will it be, considering you have had so many promotions and so much success last couple of years, will it be aiming to push just as high as you can, or?
I mean, we'll see what we have. We'll see what we have squad-wise going into it. I'm never going to go in to make up numbers. No matter where we are, I'm not going to try and build a squad to do it. I'm going to build a squad to try and challenge. Whether we get there or not, we know how strong it is. We know how big the teams are in there, how much quality there is in the league now. But no, we'll be going in to do our best to challenge for it.
Yeah, and then obviously the Intermediate Cup semi-final as well, which is lost in extra time. It's not Plunkett. Even getting that stage as a 1A team was really impressive for the club. But I suppose your boys have had a sample of that now. I'm sure coming into cup competitions next season, they're probably going to want to push on and maybe aim for different competitions and try and get that next stage in the final, maybe over the line and win a trophy.
We are. It'll definitely be something we're looking more into. To be honest, the last few years have been a case of all focus on the league. This year we actually said, right, we'll see where we are at Christmas. We'll try and get around the Clarence. But the longer the intermediate went on, sort of went, right, maybe this is the one now. A couple of big scalps in it. It was a horrible way to go out and losing penalties, but I thought over the night Plunkett did deserve it. but once you get a taste for it, you're nearly there in the final. It's a hard one to take. Next year, bigger squad. We will sort of start looking at maybe focusing a wee bit more on cup runs again. Down there over the years, even before I was there, we always, Rosemount's always had that sort of cup mentality.
Yeah.
First year I came in, we got the year the fifth round of the Irish, the final of the Clarence, and the semi-final of the Border. But we've seen it had a massive impact on our league campaign that year. And that's why over the last few years, we just concentrate on the league and its workforce. But hopefully next year we'll go back and try and get a run a couple of cups anyway.
I suppose it goes to show how strong mentally your team is as well, because it's a horrible way to lose. And then if you're focusing, I'm sure it's hard to keep players' mind on the league when you have a semi-final intermediate cup and you still manage to keep winning your games, and then after it just regrouped and then went and got promotion, which was your aim, obviously, at that stage of the season.
Yeah. It was, if anything, it probably spurred us on. Your team talk was sort of for your next game straight away. Our thing was at that stage of the season, we were starting to come in, that's where you're playing 3-4 games a week. Your injuries are starting to kick in. It could have went where the heads went down and they were folded. Thankfully, it went the other way. Our last 4 games there, which we knew we needed to win, and with 4 very tough games since our last 4. Done one quite convincingly. So I know it went in our favour this time, but it very easily could have went the other way.
Yeah, and then looking at the 2 teams coming up last season from 1A, they both were quite successful. And yourselves and Dromara coming up, it's just going to make a really strong Premier Division next year. So I'm sure you can't wait for it. You probably don't want the season to end.
No, I don't. I'm saying I want my break now, but I don't think I've had one day of a break so far between sort of friendly, speaking to players. Where we only finished there on Tuesday night anyway. You don't miss the manager's busiest stage of the season, as you know yourself. Everybody thinks you get a break now, but it's the stressful part now for the next month or 2.
Yeah, no one gets a break as a player's legs, but we don't.
That's about it. So not there is.
Well, mate, thanks very much for coming on. And obviously, for years we used to play down in Rosemount, and it was always a great club, a great atmosphere, and you have a good crowd as well there. So fans push you on. So you have everything in place there to be successful in Premier Division. So I wish you best of luck next season.
Thanks very much, guys. Same to yourselves.
And I appreciate you coming on, mate. Thank you. After a busy schedule. Cheers, mate. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
This episode is sponsored by Amicus Group, who are cyber resilience specialists. Check them out on their website, and they can help both public and private sectors with their cyber security. I'm here with Thomas McAllister, who is the manager of St Mary's Newton Abbey. Mate, how are you? Keeping well?
All good, Gary. All good. Thanks for having me on.
It's good to have you on. Obviously, you have just picked up the Division 2B title there, and with an unbeaten record as well, which is some achievement, and being able to do that. And was that your first season in 2B, was it?
First season in 2B, so we were promoted from 2C last year. So delighted, to be honest, Gary. The work that the lads have put in this year, and definitely kicked on from last year. The consistency was there, and to be fair, Castlewellan pushed us all the way. And you seen there last Thursday night, I think, 0-0. I was really afraid of going down there, and maybe the lads have already won the league, and it was a case of it down tools, But no, I'm delighted, over the moon for everybody at the club. It's been a work in progress for a long time, so we're doing okay.
Yeah. Looking at the league table, like any other season where you've won 19 out of 22 games and unbeaten, you'd have had the league wrapped up by about March if you're so you would. But Castlewellan unbeaten as well, not winning a league, so they did push us all the way, and it just goes to show how close both teams were. You were to go again and draw there last week.
Yeah. No, I think to be fair to Castle, I think the numbers were similar to last year. To be fair, if you look at our 2C campaign, even Belfast Celtic, with similar numbers last year, but Belfast Celtic just managed to get away from us in 2C. But it was all about promotion last year, so we got that. That helped us kick on, give the lads a wee bit of belief. But like this year, to be fair to Castlewellan, they did push us all the way. And there's a lot of tough games in 2B, to be honest. Like games against Newhill 6-5 up at White Rock, which was just madness. And then, Belfast Celtic always give us a game. They were one of our draws this year. But to be fair to the lads, look, I'm absolutely delighted with the performance. Like, it has been really consistent. And as you say about the numbers, it had to be consistent to go and win the league. And obviously no defeats and still being pushed all the way. So it was nice.
Yeah, you've been in the amateur league a few years now, but then it's all of a sudden back-to-back promotions, and obviously your team's getting stronger to be able to do that. But what do you think's been the change within the club for you to be able to achieve those
No,
things?
as I said, I think it's a work in progress for the club. I think we came in the amateur league 2017, 2018.
Yeah,
Um, and to be honest, before that it was Belfast and District, but the 2017 to 2018 season, and since then, to be fair, the previous manager before me, Brendan Morgan, had done a great job. I think Brendan was in charge of the first team for maybe 5 or 6 years, and it was just a case, it's just progress. Last season, he decided that he had enough different family commitments and stuff, and he stepped away. And to be honest with you, I was probably the only one still kicking about that was going to take it on. But like, to be honest, the club's been working hard towards this. We've a great youth setup with like upwards of 30 youth teams. With a women's team, with 3 senior teams. So the environments are like this club should be pushing for league titles in amateur league and trying to get the intermediate. So what changed? Probably just was just a fresh approach. Maybe, to be fair to
yeah,
say, the previous manager had done a good job. What changed was we just took a different approach. We went, we've got all this talent about the club in terms of youth setup and with the 3 senior teams, and I just felt it was a wee bit disconnected. And obviously last year, myself and I brought on a great lad called Jack Breslin, who's the coach there. It's Mary's, he's the first team
yeah,
coach, who's done a brilliant job, to be fair. And we sat down and right, well, how can we get this going? And it was a case of looking at look how many players we've got. Surely out of all the players that are coming through the system, we've enough there to go and compete, certainly in 2C. So I think probably the key last year was just bringing the club together a bit in terms of the 3 senior teams and trying to make sure that every team competes. So one of the seconds was important. The second team competed, and obviously the thirds in Belfast District to compete. And to be fair, they did, and they helped push boys in the first team for places. So last year was great to get the promotion. This year, I think, we've just kicked on again, and we are a young side. So as I say, look, I'm delighted, and I think, to be fair, there's more to come. Definitely.
yeah. And success as well breeds more success. That once you're successful last season, coming in this season, I'm sure you were confident. But going the next year, 2A, it's obviously another step up. How do you feel going into the next year, or what do you feel you need to change or work on? Or
Look, I think reasonably confident that we'll be able to compete.
yeah,
We faced a few 2A sides this season. Portavogie, both in Junior Shield and Junior Cup, we played those boys, really good side. And I would turn them over at our place, and then obviously I think, to be fair to them, they were maybe missing a couple of players that day. And then we played them again at our place, and it was a much closer game, obviously, because they had a chance to get a look at us. But so they're competing at the top of 2A. Ben Madigan are probably our local rivals, and I don't think I've ever watched a game between St Mary's and Ben Madigan where both teams play really well. But I think it's just a case of they want to beat each other that bad, and it's always a tight game. So we've got the
yeah,
better of them in this season. Portavogie, as I say, I think we played Kelvin and the Junior Cup, the Junior Shield. I can't remember which one, but we played Kelvin as well, and it was a tough game. So, but there's a lot of good sides in too, but no issue. I think to be honest, the group I have, we can definitely compete.
yeah. It's especially if 2A seems to be getting stronger. All the teams that come up last year were really strong, and then obviously being in 2A myself the moment before, and I'm looking at the teams coming up, going, this isn't going to get any easier. Like
No, no, it's
it's not.
definitely good.
But it is it
No,
is a competitive league. I think I'd say 1A is probably the hardest league to get out of. So obviously you're thinking as a club, your aim sure is intermediate football. So getting into 2A, it's a competitive league, and then I'm sure you just want to push on and try and go up as high as you can throughout the amateur league.
look, the club. I think the club probably the size of the club probably deserves that. You know that has to be where we want to get to. At the minute, there's a big emphasis on it. I was trying to get a new pitch and trying to get a home of our own. But like a club of this size with that many youth teams, and there's so much hard working on it. If we can get a pitch and get that settled, that's definitely the aim. Has to be the aim. You have to make progress. So look, it's been nice last season to get promotion. This season to win a league, it's been great. It's not always going to be like that, and we know that. But we definitely think we can compete in 2A, and we'll just get in, try and settle ourselves, and take it from there.
Yeah. Uh, Going forward as well, obviously this season you were unfortunate. It was an admin error in the Junior Shield. So you obviously you were in the semi final basically at that point before
Mm-hmm.
you just were put out. But you obviously want to then improve on that next season and try and compete in the cups as well, take it.
Yeah, no, definitely. even last season with a decent wee run, Junior Cup more so than Junior Shield. Bit of a disaster in the Junior Cup in a game against I think it was FC Antrim or something. Maybe that was this year, but that every year it's been about progress, and we've just said, lads, look, if this is the stage where we get to this year, you need to push on. The Junior Shield this season is still the one that hurts me. Admin era, yeah, and it would have been easy for our lads after that happening to not so much down tools, but take a whole different attitude, and maybe blame officials, myself and officials of the club for falling foul of that. But to be fair to them, their attitude was super. They just got on with it. And obviously we had the league to push for, but like that did hurt. Junior Shield hurt a lot. But I think the point was the rule just didn't make any sense to me. We were put out of a competition because we played a player after the 31st who was signed after the 31st of December. Like, it made no sense to me. It's only in the Junior Shield. It wasn't in the Junior Cup rule book. And I put my hands up. We broke the rule. No issue with that at all. But I just didn't see the point in it. And then to find out there was 3 teams actually fair to that same rule, it doesn't really look good on the competition, And that's no disrespect to Greencastle, who went on and won it. Like, fair play, they've done really, really well. Ben Monaghan, obviously, they got their opportunity again instead of ourselves and got to the final. And that's great. I would do the same if I was in that position, but it's a hard one to take, to be honest. Our lads aren't used to being at that stage of competitions, and to be put out that way was just harsh, to be fair.
Yeah, it's something that happens quite a lot over the last lot of years. It's happened to a lot of clubs and all, and it's the comet system is meant to clear stuff up like that and all. It doesn't really, and there's obviously even in the Irish League last year was problems and all. So it's sitting down as a manager who has a lot of work to do as well. Like I didn't even know that rule existed until I seen the teams get thrown out, and then I'm going to myself, you have to read every single rule in the rule book for every competition.
No, to be fair, I have to say, when that came out and all that happened, obviously it comes out in social media before you actually find out yourself, and then the County Antrim contacted us and told us, look, we broke this rule, and they asked for a hearing, so we got a chance to go and explain ourselves. The bottom line for me was we didn't try to deceive anybody. The player was put on Comet for all to see. Comet's meant to be our go-to thing now in terms of player registration and sort of transparency. So we put it on Comet. There was no issue at all with that. And I said that to the County Antrim, like, we weren't trying to hide anything. We weren't trying to deceive Ben Monaghan. The young lad came on, like, he was devastated about it all. The young lad came on 15 minutes. He was on the pitch, and then we get the winning penalties, which is great. But it was really hard to take after that, to be fair. And again, till this day, I can't understand why the rule is there. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. So hopefully, you like to think that the County Antrim will maybe look at that and go, look, what happened this season, we really can't have that going forward, and we clear that up. You think to change that rule, but it's too late for us. What can we do? We'll just try again next year. So.
Yeah, with anything that can push your boys on next year, gives you a bit more motivation as well, like, because it feels like a defeat and outside of the football pitch, which I'd imagine will push your boys on a lot more, like when it comes to Junior Shield and then even the Junior Cup, etc. next year. So
yourself, cups are a strange thing. You just need to have an off day, like, and it works the other way too. Some days you have a bit of luck, like certainly Ben Monaghan in the quarter final. To be fair to them, I think they were in the ascendancy in extra time, and we just managed to hold out, and then they missed every one of their penalties, albeit 2 cracking saves from our goalkeeper, like 2 or 3, I think. But cups are cups. You just never know. But we do want to kick on and have another crack at that next season. I think Junior Shield, Junior Cups are a realistic target for our guys, the way they've done with this season. So,
well, congratulate you on a really successful season. Like 19 wins out of 22 is seriously impressive, unbeaten, and I think your goal difference was plus 90 a scene as well. So, it's some season for you, and I wish you best of luck going forward.
No worries. Thank you.
And I'll look forward to hopefully seeing you next year.
Just
no luck against us. If you play against us, it'll be all right.
I'll see what we can do. No,
cheers, mate. Thank you very much. I'll speak to you again. Bye.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm here with Ryan Caddell from Belfast Celtic, who is becoming fastly the most famous Caddell in the family, I think. with
Don't know about
with Belfast Celtic success this year. Mate, you've obviously had a really long season. I know it's just wrapped up recently. So, how would you summarise your season?
It's a bit up and down, to be honest with you, mate. At the start was really difficult. Obviously, there was a change in management, and for a while, sort of everyone was in limbo on what was happening, and there was sort of a lot of players wanting to try new things. So at the start of the season, we struggled a bit. The first sort of couple of months, but gradually, me, Big Pierce, and Shamey came in at the start and took them, and gradually started to put all the boys back. And then we started to have a wee bit of form, especially in the cup competitions. We went on a couple of good runs, quarter-final in 3 cups, the Clarence, Carton and Corey and the Junior Shield. Unlucky, maybe a couple of them not to go a bit further. But at the end of the season, we left ourselves way too much to do in terms of league. So it was a bit difficult last 4 or 5 weeks in terms of fixtures, but the boys got through them well, in fairness to them. I think we only get beat once the last 15, but give ourselves way too much to do in terms of league. 2 teams above us were very good.
Yeah, like obviously Belfast Celtic, since he's come in the amateur league, and any in your success previously, when you was in the South Antrim League, is used to winning trophies, promotions and stuff. So got to a stage where players wanted to maybe try something different, and obviously at the start of the season, and it's affected you. But St Mary's and Castlewellan put up such a sort of buffer from early on, and used so many games to catch up. Did you think it was just too much for your boys coming towards the latter stage of the season, or
even going into that run? We knew we had a lot to do. We needed results go our way, and it was probably a bit of a switch from last season, because that was St Mary's in that position last year, chasing us in 2C, and they were relying on teams beating us, and we sort of had the momentum. We didn't have a big backlog of fixtures, and we were able to push through. And I think St Mary's were similar this year. Castlewellan looked strong from the start of the season. I think it maybe ended the season unbeaten as well. Which is correct. They're a very good team. And I sort of I've said a couple of times, I think the difference between Evans and us this year has been they're consistent with their teams. Every week they've almost the same 14 in the squads, and I think that's been our downfall this year, just between injuries and work commitments, family commitments. It's been difficult to get the same 14 or close to the same 14 out every week. I think I checked sort of last week, and 44 different players play for the first team this year, which is if you're up to go win leagues, you can't be doing that, So that's what we need to improve next year, to be honest. But two very good teams above us, like Furness, and they were very good.
It's not even that. It's the fact that both teams were unbeaten, which is incredible for any team to do, but both teams have done it. And even your points total, most years it would probably be enough to get promoted. And how many games you had to play in the last 4 or 5 weeks?
I think it's 15 what they're playing in the last 5 weeks.
Which is unbelievable. Like, they still finished third. So the playing that amount of players as well, it actually goes to show you the strength of squad there. So next season, what will be the aims then? That there's always a possibility that you never know what way the leagues sort of go, that more than 2 teams can come up from 2B. The last couple of years, just last year was in 4 teams. So there's still a possibility you could find yourself in 2A next year. But either way, I'm sure you're still going to be preparing to get stronger and then really have a go at whatever league you're in.
Yeah, I think the squad we have, I think, is really strong. Even at the minute, without any additions, it's really strong, to be honest. It's just trying to get the boys there, and we've had no luck this year with injuries. With about 5 or 6 real long-term injuries, boys out 5-6 months at a time, all at the same time as well. So I think next year for us, we need a good pre-season. We didn't have much of a pre-season last year, just with fixtures and stuff. We need a good, strong pre-season this year. Get everyone back, and we'll maybe add 1 or 2 to the squad. We don't need that much, as long as everyone's there every week and committed. Whether we're in 2B or 2A next year, if we do add a fancy as a challenge, I think we've a really, really strong squad.
I think even you said about the strong squad, it goes to show the strength of your team that you've got the quarterfinal of Clarence Cup, which is a smashing achievement for a 2B team. And then not only it wasn't as if you got a favourable draw, like you went and beat Larne Tech, who are a Premier Division team. So, and then only lost out the Ballynahinch Olympic, who are now semi-finalists, and they're a 1A team as well. So it just goes to show the strength of your squad, and you can compete with most teams in the amateur league as well.
Yeah, it's when we get the strongest squad out, our performances are always brilliant. As you said, against the likes of Larne Tech, Killylay, another Premier League team, I know they sort of haven't had the best of season this year, but you know, that's two teams 6-7 divisions above us that we've been out and beat and put out the cups. So, you know, we know what sort of performances we can turn in when everyone's there. Just trying to get that sort of consistency with our squads. As you said, you know, credit to the boys as well from the seconds. They're stepping up. You know, they're coming up near enough every week. We're having to take 2 or 3 up, and the two boys in seconds team management, are keeping them competitive at the top of the table as well. You know, they could possibly finish second this year. So, you know, credit to the boys stepping up, and the managers and the boys as well that are there all the time. You know, with maybe a group of maybe 8, possibly 9 of our boys that are there every single week, and every week they're playing, you know, with different players. You know, big cricket centre halves, maybe had 6 or 7 different centre half partners this year. So, the boys done really well. They adapt week on week and be as competitive as they have been. So, you know, the boys deserve a lot of credit.
What about your focus next season? Because obviously 3 quarterfinals there, and it's almost a victim of your own success in the cups, but at the same time, you're almost better get knocked out in round 1 of them all if you're not going to go on and get a semi-final or final and win the competition. Next season, do you focus on the league, or do you look to still just try and win every week and wherever it takes you in the cups, it takes us? Because obviously that schedule would be hard to do any year, never mind this year.
I think maybe managing the fixtures a bit better. You know, it's something that we've talked about possibly at the start of the season. If other teams, you know, would agree, and maybe trying to get a couple of fixtures done early in the season, midweek, when the light's still there, and then around, you know, you're not under pressure then in the winter time with cancellations and cups taking priority and stuff that you're having to catch up in your league games. You can maybe get a few done early at the start of the season. So, but no, in my opinion, you want to have their cups to win them. You know, there's no point in that them if you don't want to go for them. So every cup competition we'll go into, we'll go in to try to win the game and try to get through. And the league will look after itself, you know. But no, we'll want to be as competitive as we can and just try to keep winning games.
Yeah, it's it. You're kind of at mercy of the weather as well, because it depends where you're meant to play each week when the weather turns bad. You could be in a 4G when it's raining, or you could be on Falls Park when it's raining, and then that's your game called off, and then it's kind of luck more than anything as well, isn't it?
I think we had a game called off in the cup against Newhill, and I think we had no fixture for 5 weeks. You know, over sort of the Christmas period, 5-6 weeks waiting on this fixture because it was, you know, cancelled so many times. So, you know, that's what you do. You know, when we're in the cups, they take priority obviously over the league games. Or we could have maybe in that time maybe played a team away from home, like some areas away. Do you know what I mean? And on the 4G and could have got another league game in, but you're just sort of, you know, you just have to get on with it, I suppose. You know.
Yeah, and then I know yourself, man, it's your first year in senior football management. I know you've been involved in ladies and stuff and kids and all, but how do you find it yourself? Obviously, it's a lot different in the schedule towards the end of the season. I'm sure it's completely different to you as well.
Yeah, to be honest, as I said the earlier, I was actually meant to play a game this year. So coming in, it was at the start it was a bit difficult, you know, because you're making decisions and they're your mates, your teammates that you've been playing with for a load of years, and sometimes you're leaving them out and telling them, you know, you're not in this week, and that can be difficult. But you just have to get on with it at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It's been all right, to be honest.
Less paint spot for you after a match, more or less. That it?
Oh, that's it. I'm more paint to play people on the team. But no, the boys have been great, to be honest, and I've actually enjoyed it. I have enjoyed it. It's been a different sort of challenge, and it's a lot more games, a lot more intense. Lady seasons over the summer, and it's all condensed in about sort of 3 months, and that's huge. You know what I mean? But the main season, it was long. I'm glad to see the end of it, to be honest. But I've enjoyed it as well. I've enjoyed all the different competitions, cup competitions, the league running and stuff. It's been enjoyable as well.
Yeah, so take it now, then the plans, take a wee quick break and then recharge the batteries and go again for next season, start prepping.
Yeah, take a couple of weeks here. We'll probably start first week of July again, back at pre-season. But take sort of rest of May off in June. Maybe try to get a few players in between then and get them ready for pre-season and just have pre-season heart. You know, just hopefully by then we know where we're playing and we're able to prepare properly for it. So yeah, that's it. I'm looking forward to the next few weeks anyway.
Well, mate, I wish us best of luck going forward, and I hope I'm seeing you next year in 2A. Although I'm hoping you just don't pick up any points against us, of course. But I'm hoping to do see us because you've had a great rise in the amateur league, and then you were affected by the COVID season. Also, it'd be great to see us up in 2A because you have been one of the top teams in the second division the last couple of years. Like so. But I wish you best of luck going forward, mate, and really thank you for coming on. I really appreciate giving up your time.
No problem at all. No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Thank you.